6 years of marriage can either make two people grow closer, or slowly turn them into strangers living under the same roof. For a long time, I believed Madison and I were in the first category. We met at a mutual friend's barbecue, where she'd been wearing a faded denim jacket and that effortless smile that made people gravitate toward her. She had this sharp, witty way of talking that made conversations feel like a dance, back and forth, quick and electric. In those early years, I thought we understood each other better than anyone else could. I worked long hours at the warehouse, sometimes taking on extra shifts to cover bills, while she started her own small business selling handmade candles. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable, and I thought that was enough. But over time, the tone of our relationship shifted. At first, it was tiny things I brushed off, a sarcastic remark that cut a little too deep, a sigh when I told her about my day, or an eye roll when I tried to make her laugh. I chalked it up to stress, bad moods, or maybe just phases that every couple goes through. But then it became more public. Little criticisms slipped into conversations when friends were around, jokes at my expense that didn't feel like jokes. I'd laugh along, pretending it didn't bother me, but inside, each one left a small bruise. That Friday night, I told myself it would be different. Madison had been invited to a dinner with her close friends from college, 3 women she'd known for over a decade, and their partners. She wanted me to come along. I thought maybe it could be a chance to reset, to have a good evening together without the tension we'd been carrying. I put on a navy button-up shirt she'd once told me looked great on me, paired it with clean dark jeans. When I stepped out of the bedroom, she gave me a once-over and asked, "You're really wearing that?" The words were sharp, the kind that stripped the confidence right off you. By the time we arrived at the dimly lit Italian restaurant she liked to call cozy, but was really just overpriced, I was already in defense mode. I ordered a bourbon neat, and she made a face loud enough for the whole table to notice. "You and your old man drink," she said, grinning at her friends. A couple of them laughed awkwardly. I smiled faintly, hoping it would end there, but I had no idea the worst was yet to come. I didn't give her the satisfaction of a loud argument, nor did I let her see the storm brewing inside me. I simply walked to the kitchen, poured myself a drink, and said, "Pack your things, Claire. You're leaving tonight." She froze, eyes wide, probably expecting tears or desperate questions. But the calm in my voice rattled her more than any shouting ever could. She tried to laugh it off, tried to spin some elaborate story about Derek just being a friend going through a rough patch, but I'd already seen enough. The softness I once had for her was gone. In its place was something sharper, colder. I told her I'd already changed the locks on my phone, my accounts, and by morning, the house itself. She scoffed, saying I was overreacting, but when I tossed a printed copy of her messages with Derek onto the coffee table, screenshots she didn't even know I had, her face drained of color. She muttered something about not meaning for it to happen, but I cut her off. "You meant for every single message, every touch, every lie," I said. She left that night with only a suitcase and her phone, which I knew she'd soon be using to call him. In the days that followed, I didn't crumble like she probably expected. Instead, I focused on my kids, my work, and the quiet peace of knowing the truth was finally out. I sold the house within a month, using part of the money to move us into a smaller place near my parents. Claire tried to contact me, texts, calls, even showing up at my office, but I never responded. My silence was my revenge. She couldn't twist my words if I didn't give her any. Friends later told me Derek had dumped her within weeks. Apparently, the reality of her leaving her husband for him wasn't as exciting as their stolen moments had been. She ended up bouncing between couches, chasing the next thrill that would distract her from the life she'd destroyed. I won't pretend it didn't hurt. 19 years is a lifetime, and letting go wasn't easy. But every morning I woke up without the weight of her lies pressing on my chest. I felt stronger. My kids started smiling more. Laughter came back into the house. And one evening, as I sat watching them play in the living room, I realized something. I hadn't lost a marriage, I'd shed a cage. Claire thought she'd broken me, but she only freed me. And somewhere out there, she's probably still wondering how I managed to walk away without looking back. When I finally stepped back into our home that evening, I was determined not to explode, not yet. The kids were upstairs, blissfully unaware, their laughter drifting faintly down the hall. Lauren trailed behind me, her heels clicking on the tile, a faint scent of expensive perfume lingering in the air, one I didn't recognize. She tried to speak first, a soft "Can we talk?" slipping past her lips, but I raised a hand and shook my head. This wasn't going to be one of those moments where she spun her version of the truth before I could breathe. I led her into the living room. The same room where I'd once built her a surprise anniversary dinner, where she'd once whispered she'd never hurt me. Now the air was thick with something different. I opened my phone, pulled up the photos from the restaurant. Her and Derek, leaning too close, the intimate smile she hadn't given me in years. She froze, her eyes darting to the coffee table, anywhere but me. I expected her to lie. I was almost ready for it. But instead she laughed, small at first then sharper, as if my pain was a joke. And in that moment, I realized she had no idea what I'd been preparing for her.